Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
I'm George.
And I'm Richard.
Whoa! There's
Whoa.
somebody extra in the house today.
I'm bringing you some British class.
Nice. We need a little bit of that. What'd you call me when you have no class?
I think I've actually probably exhausted my levels of class, so it's all going downhill from here. So
yeah, it happens when you're around us.
We're
Yep,
happy
it's
to
fine.
welcome Richard Oliver from the Chasing Tone podcast. Many of you in the guitar community already know Richard. He is a stand-up guy and a pillar of the community. I think we could all agree.
Oh, thank you very much. Something like that, yeah. I'm definitely a pillar. Quite solidly built, so you wouldn't want to run into me or anything.
He's stocky.
Well, I'm 6 foot tall, but also, yeah, I'm definitely handsome. But yeah, we're painting a good picture of me here. So, how are you guys doing anyway?
Not bad.
Oh,
Yourself?
we're doing well, sir.
It's Saturday evening. I can't tell you what I've done at work this week, but it's been one heck of a week, so I'm happy to have the weekend upon me.
Same here.
And we're happy that you joined us today. We're happy you watched a movie that you, I guess, hadn't seen before, and neither had George, so this is going to be interesting. We watched Prom Night from 1980. George, first of all, how are you feeling about Prom Night?
It was great. Richard had never seen this before?
Yeah, I was thrown off by that too.
Yeah, it had never really made the UK video shops. I honestly looked out for every single horror film possible from the years about 86 to 92, I think. So
And you had never seen it. This is the first time you're viewing it.
Like, there was a bit in, I'd never seen it before, and I barely even remembered it being talked about. Couldn't even think of many memes where it had been represented. Clearly, there must be quite a lot of tropes that follow it, but I was like, I've never seen this film, Dan, but brilliant. I'll watch it because it's got Jamie Lee Curtis and Leslie Nielsen in it.
That's interesting. Now, obviously, I had never seen it, but that's no surprise
Right,
to
'cause that's the
anyone
premise of
because
the
I've
show.
never seen anything. But rarely do they bring me someone to talk about a movie with who also hasn't seen it.
Well,
And-
you
and
and I have
literally-
done it.
So that's a twist.
Yeah.
Dun,
It is a
dun,
twist.
dun.
It was a twist for me this morning when I watched it. And also, I mean, I've seen every single film that you guys have talked about so far. In
Right.
fact, 90% of them are like my list of favourite films of all time. So you've done some great movies so far. But to find one that I haven't seen in this era is hard. So happenstance and all that. But yeah, never saw it until this morning.
Well, Dan's good at finding those movies.
That's kind of my
Definitely.
niche.
Yeah.
This movie's definitely your niche.
This movie definitely would have been teenage me's niche. I have to say, I was a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis growing up.
Who was it?
I mean, I had a copy of Trading Places that I recorded off the TV. There were
Oh, okay.
definitely segments of that VHS that had worn out more than others.
Run dry, yes. Well, let's not talk about that movie because that's in the queue down the stretch, I think.
Sure.
So we don't want to give George any spoilers.
But let's talk about Jamie Lee Curtis.
let's
though.
talk about Jamie Lee
Because
Curtis.
I've seen a few movies recently with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Mhm.
And I mean, before, we started this podcast, I knew who she was. I recognized
Yeah,
her face.
she's kind of an
but
icon.
I keep, now that I've seen a few movies, when I turned this on, I didn't know she was in it. I didn't know anything about this movie. But I see her name in the credits and I'm like, oh, cool. And then I see her acting and I'm like, yo, I love
Mhm.
this chick.
Yeah. This is right between Halloween and Halloween 2
She's
in the fog.
yeah, she's in my life now. I'm
Yeah.
like, and whenever someone says Jamie Lee Curtis, I'll know exactly who it is now.
What's
Not like that other dude from that other movie. That you were
Atkins?
like,
Tom Atkins?
yeah,
who
do you
we're
know
like,
this
he's in
guy
everything.
from anything else? I'm
Yeah.
like, no.
Jamie Lee Curtis, what's funny is she was my childhood because of horror movies. And then, like, my teenage years, she was on a show called Mad About You.
You're not even going to reprimand him?
With, oh, God.
I've heard of the show.
Richard Lewis, who was one of my favorite comedians, which is weird because I was like 14. And he's kind of an adult comic.
Okay.
So they did a show, and it was kind of like something about Raymond, but like just a couple. There were no kids involved. Great show. She was Uber star
you
from
mean
movies.
Everybody Loves Raymond?
Everybody loves him. What did I say?
There's something about Raymond.
Something about Raymond.
There's something about Mary.
There is something about Raymond and Mary.
You do not want to know
and-
what's in his hair, and there's something about Raymond.
Yeah, so she just kept reinventing herself. And then once that show was canceled or ran its course, then she started doing a new group of movies. So then she was like involved in like Freaky Friday and all these different things where she just kept reinventing herself. So here, how old is she? 60 now? She's got to be at least.
She's got to be a bit older than that, yeah.
Maybe 64. But she looks. I mean, she's still. And her big thing is she doesn't do any plastic surgery or anything. So she's aging like a fine wine.
Properly.
She doesn't like Courtney Cox does.
Certainly for like people my age, A Fish Called Wanda came out, I
Yes.
think about 89. I can't remember, but because it was the sort of blend of the Python, so you had John Cleese and Michael Palin and Jamie Lee Curtis and that other American dude who's not
Kevin
done
Kline.
nothing since him,
Kevin Kline.
whatever. It was massive over here, and I remember going to the cinema, seeing it. It almost became sort of quotable, like Fawlty Towers and Python. So for men of a certain age, Jamie Lee Curtis was one of the biggest Hollywood stars,
Yes.
for sure. So likewise, huge fan of Halloween, and I was really surprised that there was a horror film with her in it. I mean, clearly I wasn't like some kind of weird stalker when I was a teenager, so I didn't just go out looking for Jamie Lee Curtis films, but quite surprised not to have seen this. So yeah, nice surprise today. Thanks for that.
Now, I do have to ask you, Richard, have you ever seen Road Games?
No.
Oh, shoot. Put a pin in that. So we don't have to hear from Dan in post, because I know everybody hates that guy. Dan in right now is just going to point out it was Anything But Love, Not Mad About You.
What was mad about you?
That's Helen Hunt and Paul Reiser.
Oh, Paul Reiser. That's why I almost said Paul Reiser. That's right.
Mm.
Yes, Anything But Love. You're right. Thank you. Thank you, Dan in post in today.
Hey.
Neither of those shows came across to the UK, or
Wow.
if they did, they were so obscure.
Yeah, the
That
Paul
they fell off
Reiser
my
show is
radar.
what made Helen Hunt kind of like a big thing.
The first 3
I think
seasons
for
are
us-
real good.
Mhm.
My Two Dads is the only Paul Reiser show that ever made it over here.
I remember that.
And that's as far as it goes. We had really poor TV in the 80s here. I'm just going to tell you that.
But you gave us Friends, so thank you.
Did we?
Yeah, Friends is based on a show out of England called Coupling, I think, or Couples.
Oh, is it really? I did
Yeah.
not know that. I've seen neither of those because that was the period when I wasn't watching those sort of shows for sure.
Gotcha.
I was busy tracking down pirate copies of Clockwork Orange and
Oh, I hear
Exorcist
you.
because they were banned over here at the time.
Yeah, I was like the only 13-year-old with a picture of Tom Savini on my wall, so I get it. Everybody else had like chicks on their wall. I did that too, but yeah, Tom Savini was on my wall as well.
I did a talk at school. I'm totally derailing this. Sorry. I did a talk at school on The Exorcist when I was 12, with a pirate video that I'd like bought across from Amsterdam. And as it got to the scene where Reagan lifts off the bed, that the tape got eaten by the video machine, and I never got it back. Like that had to happen, right?
Ooh, that's spooky.
Exactly. So anyway, I've digressed. Let's get back to the
Wait,
the very
you'll like this,
colourful
Richard.
film.
I went to the Art Institute and in Philly, and our psychology teacher had us watch The Exorcist
Nice.
for subliminals, learning about subliminals and color, use of color, mood setting color, this and that. And we watched that movie frame by frame.
It's such a great film. I think they
Yeah.
ruined it with the version that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
They tried to make the subliminals a lot more heavy, and it
Oh,
just
yeah.
lost all impact. But yeah,
There's a scene where a horse almost runs over Reagan's mother when she's walking on the streets. It's like a horse and carriage comes flying out from an alleyway.
yeah,
And if you pause the frame where the horse's head is coming, emerging from the alleyway, it's shaped like a pig face, like
nice.
the teeth are like, it doesn't look like a horse. Whether somebody went in there with Photoshop, obviously not Photoshop, but like with layers and masking and fixed, or it just eerily looks like a pig face. But it's really cool. He paused it, and we were all looking at it like, oh my god, did they really do that on purpose? But the whole humming of the bees,
I did not
and
know
the
that.
yeah, underlining track of bees because it makes you uncomfortable. Like there's just
Yeah.
so many things about that movie.
I love it, man, and we could do a whole episode just on me talking about that film, so I will avoid it. But yes, it is a great film. I was really pleasantly surprised with this, though. I'm not gonna lie, but probably for different reasons than the director had intended. So,
well, I'm curious. At least a couple different reasons. Yes.
So Richard, did you take notes?
I didn't think I needed to, because the things that stuck out really stuck out.
Okay.
So
well, on purpose. Purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes I take notes.
Yes.
Depends
I
on the
thought
movie.
about it halfway through, actually. I thought, should I be writing notes? I thought, I'm no film critic. I'm just going to talk shit. That's
George's
all I
notes
want.
are awesome.
Oh, my notes are never
No, they're not.
highbrow. They're
No.
always.
So
But I did this time.
nice. Good.
That's good stuff.
All right. Well, it's fresh in my mind, so I'll definitely be able to compare notes with my mental notes.
All right, very good. Is there anything we want to talk about before we get to notes, Dan?
Let me ask you this, George. I'm going to give you a little bit
Sure.
more agency than normal. Do you want to know the context of the film you just watched before you give your notes, so that you can self-assess as you say these things they're probably wrong now? Or do you want to just put yourself out there and then I'll fix you at the end?
Yeah, but let me put myself out there and you can fix
Yeah,
me.
let's do the New York Ninja version.
Get
where
that bird
we
out,
let-
man.
All right, so here we go. Prom night. First scene. Kids are playing a game.
Yeah.
Director forgot to tell the little girl that dead people don't breathe. Did you guys catch that?
It's hard to get a kid not to breathe.
Little girl's breathing still. She's supposed to be dead.
See, I don't know about you in, North America, Canada, USA. Over here, we don't let our children go and play in, like, unmanned old convents or whatever it was.
Yeah,
we would
abandoned buildings.
Yeah, I was put off the film by the first scene by, like... Firstly, we've never played that game.
Right.
That's quite a special game. And secondly, that looked like it was in the middle of nowhere. Like, where was the parental
Where are the
responsibility?
parents?
I know it was supposed to be 1974, and I remember things were a bit different, but I'm just going to throw that one right out there.
I have played, not that particular game, games of the sort on, say, not active, but a construction site.
Yeah.
Like on the weekends when no one's working there and you get like a half-built building. It's a cool place to play.
Yeah.
No, and I've played on building sites too, and probably my parents should have been more responsible, but it was the 70s and 80s.
Well,
But
I'm sitting here thinking, as Richard's talking about it, I'm thinking, okay, my parents had no idea what the hell I was doing from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. I was down playing underneath the Ben Franklin Bridge in the Delaware River. I was back filming Jason movies in the woods. We were building forts near power lines. Like, we were doing all kinds of shit. We were playing in abandoned buildings. So that didn't throw me off. The game a little bit, but it was more like it was kind of like a game of tag, but it might have been called death instead of tag.
It was like hide and seek.
Hide and seek
kind of.
tag, or like we just played.
Yeah, killer is not in the
No,
sort
it's
of
not.
British school kid vocabulary of like field games. But
The worst we ever got was
I went with
Jailbreak.
it.
We used to play Jailbreak a lot.
Yeah, cops
Where-
and robbers.
Yeah, cops and robbers
Yeah.
or kissing tag, but this is a different version of kissing tag,
Yeah.
where you get pushed out a window and you die.
Yeah.
But yeah, the abandoned building, not weird. Pushing a kid out a window, or not pushing, verbally pushing a kid out a window, strange.
The death of the kid was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I thought as well. That was where I stopped hating the film. So only took me about 5 minutes to get into it because I was like, this is really stupid. Where are they going with this? Oh, that's not nice.
Right.
So that caught me off guard. So that was well timed.
Well, and they echoed that scene in Halloween Kills a little bit, if you guys have
Yes.
seen that movie. So the
Yes.
legacy of this film lives on.
That's the new one, right? I've not seen it yet.
Well, just wait.
Right.
When you go see Halloween Kills, you'll be like, oh, it's prom night.
Excellent. That's a reason to go and see it because I haven't found one yet.
Oh, I'll give you some reasons, but not on the show.
So finally, let's end that scene with give that kid's mother an Oscar. Fantastic piece of acting right there. Wow.
As he's shaking his head.
Wow.
Is this your first Canadian movie, George?
Is it Canadian?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is it my first Canadian
Does that
movie?
matter? I didn't even know that mattered.
It's a different
I
country,
haven't seen
man.
I haven't seen any movies
I know
besides
it's
the
a
one
different
you
country.
showed me. So is it?
I think it is. I think this is your first Canadian masterpiece. There's a couple of them that are really worth seeing, and this is one of them.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Very next note. Laurie Strode is in this.
Not at all, though, man. The character's completely different.
I don't care. She's always Laurie Strode.
She's
to
more
me.
like, this might be a prequel to The Fog. Actually.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe after all the events of this movie happened, she took a walk.
Literally JLC.
Yeah, we'll call
Jamie Lee
her
Curtis,
Okay.
right.
JLC to me is just Laurie Strode.
Okay.
When Travis came in and we talked a little bit about the movie, just a teeny bit. We watched
Not
like
much.
the very end scene
I had to
again,
rewatch the ending.
and he said, wait, now what happened with blah blah blah? And I was like, oh, Laurie Strode like hit him with his axe, and he was like, okay, and we just knew what we were talking about. She's Laurie Strode.
She is
to
Laurie
me.
Strode.
So
Wait, you just wait.
I think in this film
She's
she's Laurie Strode plus though.
Yeah. And
There's
she's
a lot more going on for Jamie in this film than in Halloween.
Yes.
I was going to say, haven't we just glossed over the fact that Leslie Nielsen has also appeared at this stage?
I don't know
Oh,
that
he was the
George
principal-
even
he was-
knows who Leslie
Oh.
Nielsen is.
Oh, I think I do. Because I
The,
haven't
the
known about
Naked
it.
Gun Police Squad.
Yep.
You know him from
Yep,
Airplane?
I know because the
Yeah.
note is. Let me find it.
We don't know what Leslie Nielsen movie he's seen, so if any.
I mean, for me, again, it was a struggle because I was like,
Yeah.
right, he's gonna like break into a joke, but if George has never seen him, then he's just like a Canadian actor.
Yeah.
My note is principal looks like he could probably fly an airplane. That is
Nice.
my note.
Boom.
Okay, all right, good.
I just
Subtle.
want to say we're all counting on
And
you.
then later on, principal dancing with his daughter at the prom. He'll be taking off any minute now
Okay.
because again, I'm just like he is airplane, to me.
right. Yes.
He'll never
And,
not be airplane to me.
And he was a straight guy in that movie. He wasn't. I mean, he's always been the straight guy with his humor played off of his ability to be deadpan,
Yeah.
Like straight delivery.
Yep.
Like when the plane's crashing and he goes in the cockpit again. He says, "I just want to say, good luck, and we're all counting on you." Like the plane is crashing.
Right.
But he's got one of those faces. He's
Yes.
got a face that when you look at it, you want to laugh. So
Yes.
I did struggle with the first scene he was in, but I quickly got into character. It was fine.
Same. Although he was dancing at the prom and I was still waiting.
That was awkward. That
Yeah.
was
Oh,
awkward.
but that kind of brings up something though. I know you have notes.
Go ahead.
When they're Dan, you can maybe confirm this for me. When they're dancing at the prom, the scene in Airplane where the stewardess and the striker are dancing in the bar and they do the whole disco Saturday Night Fever reference. That I think they were also referencing Prom Night. Because there's a part, the camera view, where they're looking at the camera and they're doing the spinning and they're holding each other's hands and they're spinning and the camera is the other person's face
Yes.
and they're spinning around. And I'm like, oh my God, they referenced Prom Night in Airplane and no one caught it. They all thought they were referencing Saturday Night Fever. Because they do it in that as well.
I think it
So I
could-
wonder.
I think it's if it were Snopes, they would say possible but unconfirmed. How about that?
Okay. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'm just happy I noticed the reference.
Now, George,
I
did you
wasn't
catch
asleep.
that the reason JLC isn't involved in the death of the child at the beginning is because she forgot her school book again, just like in Halloween?
No,
I always
Yeah.
forget my chemistry book and my math book.
I didn't realize.
She was like,
that.
"Oh, I forgot my
That's good.
geometry book," and then she ran off, and then she's spared the trauma. But yeah, sometimes forgetting your books isn't the worst thing. Totally.
Did it all the time.
Also, filling your
Totally.
history book with doobies. That's a thing.
Yes.
History comes alive.
Yeah.
Slick is my favorite character,
Like,
but we'll come on to him.
God, who rolls that many in advance? That's what I want to know.
That guy.
I have a nickname
Kids
for that
in the
guy.
70s and 80s.
All right.
I have a nickname for that guy. It's Fat Elvis. Because my next note is no, don't get in the full-size van with Fat Elvis.
I mean, again, this is another real sort of differences between the UK and the US. kids in the US at sort of secondary school, when you can learn to drive around 17, they drive around in tiny little clapped out Beetles and like Polos. We don't have vans with like full like velour interiors and gold trim.
That's because
how do you get one of those?
That's the reason why you don't have those is because your petrol is like 8 pounds a liter.
And the roads are like 3 inches wide.
Like how I like used all kinds of like
someone parks and then no one can get by if they have a van. So you got to have that
people over there.
Smaller car. Everybody's getting around on bikes.
I mean, also over here, a van like that is entirely associated with someone who's going to murder you.
Yes.
Yeah, basically, it's one of the two.
It
is here.
Yeah, that's not just over there. That
okay,
full-size
good
van,
to know.
Yeah.
Nothing happens good in a full-size van.
We referenced that a few times
anywhere in the world.
watching Silence of the Lambs. It's like, if you got the white van, it's like, help me get discounts from my van. Like anybody who's trash picking, one-armed in a white van, stay away from that guy. He's probably going to kill you or wear your skin.
Or both. Or both. Why not both?
Oh wait, aren't you that great big fat Elvis? Yeah, not good.
We're picking on him. He was awesome. He was the best character.
He was the best part of the movie.
Him and the giant Biff. They are the two best characters.
Oh, big giant Biff, yeah.
Well,
oh my God, I didn't even.
Yeah, no, that
throw
guy's
back to episode 1.
You've got Proto Biff, but you've also, I think Slick is kind of your Proto Shelly from part 3.
Yeah.
Only Shelly takes it in a whole different direction. But you got the van and you got Shelly, and then this one you got the van and you got Slick. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think Friday 3 was like, ooh, let's cherry pick that guy and make him funnier.
Slick's real name is Sheldon.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
See, that's not an accident, guys. They knew what they were doing.
They knew.
The story pool was pretty shallow in the 80s. Like, how else can we spin like a girl running away, falling over, and then being attacked by an axe-wielding maniac? So they definitely dipped into each other's pools of reference.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Yeah, really. We didn't get that part yet.
Richard.
Now, George, you
skipped
skipped something. You skipped something in your notes that I wanted to bring up, and it's the groundskeeper when they're on the school grounds.
Yeah.
Obviously creepy. He's your standard red herring in a whodunit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to point that out because Prom Night is doing something that I have complained about the original Halloween not even trying, which is the whodunit element, right? Like,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Halloween, it's him. He did it the whole time.
And this is why I said at the beginning, I'm sure there are tropes and memes based on this film, just on the fact that I saw so many tropes and memes in the film, like the alcoholic, slightly weird, lives with his mum, 40-year-old janitor who's also being played by a 20-year-old.
Bobby Boucher.
Totally like set up like he's not going to be anything other than a good guy, but is he? That's the kind of premise again. And I was like, oh man, that's just so good, so well done.
That was one of my elephants in the room.
What?
You have this groundskeeper, whatever he was, who looks like he's 45, right? He fits that that possible psycho, trope.
Mm-hmm.
But all the high school students look like they're 38. So it's like
That's true.
I mean, I'm looking at these kids. I'm like, it suffers the same thing that Grease suffers with. Like they went for certain people for parts, but they didn't bother saying, well, he does look 29.
Yeah.
But we're gonna put him in there anyway.
That was one of my, when we watched Halloween, the first Halloween, I said that JLC looks too old to be in high school, right?
But she actually was 17 when she made that movie.
I know,
so it's
but
funny.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
What's the timeline with this movie?
She's
and
like
Halloween?
20 in this, I guess 19.
So this came out a little bit after Halloween.
Yes.
Okay, because she looks even older in high school.
Yes.
In this
Well,
movie.
it's the cut hair. As soon as she started making her hair short,
she started to look older.
She looks older, more, I guess, just more mature.
Yeah.
Like the long hair, they kind of gave her that, rushed look, babysitter, not caring about her, what her appearance. The next movies, because in The Fog, she was kind of in between Laurie Strode and this character. This character, she's like, looks like she's ready to go clubbing every night. Like she's just always done up.
This character, she looks like she could be the teacher.
Yeah.
Of the
and then the
class.
scene where she comes running out of the changing room and everything's kind of out. It's like, holy shit, she's like 40, 35. She looks like a full, like, adult. And
people looked older back then, though, as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Like,
guess so.
People in their 30s and 40s look like people in their 70s now. They all dressed in that sort of jacket and trousers
Yeah.
and shirt look that no one does these days. So I think it was just part of how people dressed back then.
It's true.
It was all a
Like,
bit weird.
How old are you, Richard, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 46 years old.
Okay, so you and I are the same exact age.
1975.
Yes, I was born in
Yeah.
75 as well. These two were
Perfect, yeah.
born 10 years later. So we can
More than
like
that.
I remember people look. I always thought, oh my god, that coach is like 50 years old, and he was like 19. So
Right.
yeah,
I remember like when my granddad retired from his job, he was like 65, and I thought he was absolutely ancient. And I'm hanging on to that now, thinking I haven't got long to go. That better not be as ancient as it looked when I was a kid, right? So things have definitely moved along. But yeah, everybody in this does look like 10 years
Yeah.
older than they're supposed to.
yes,
Except for Slick. He looks his age. He rides his
Absolutely.
van. He looks like he could be at high school and shouldn't be allowed to drive a van.
He kind of looks like Glenn Danzig when he was in high school. Like when I was looking at him, I was like, oh my god, is that Dan? No, it's not. He's too.
And good for him too, because he's like way above his what do you call that?
He punched above his weight with his date.
Yes, way out of his league.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the women
the
he's
chick-
picking up in this van.
Yes.
Like
And
Good
he had
for him,
some
I
pickup
guess.
lines as well. His pickup lines exuded male confidence.
you know what? He was slick,
Yes,
but he's still Fat Elvis to me.
Yes.
Slick
I
by
love when he
name,
was in the
slick by
car.
nature.
and she's like, "Do you want anything?" He's like, "No," and she's like, "I'm buying." He's like, "Oh, then I'll take like 4 cheeseburgers and give me 2
Oh.
milkshakes." Like, yeah, because he doesn't have any money.
Oh, and what's his face too? Drew. Like Drew had no game, man.
Mm.
Oh God, it was brutal watching Drew.
Yep.
I can see like a Bill Paxton playing Slick. Like,
Yeah.
I would have paid money to see Bill Paxton do that character because he kind of did in Aliens. He was kind of that dicky, kind of character, but I don't know, didn't have the hair.
No.
Needed a mullet.
I have to say one thing came really clear at this sort of point, though. The direction of this film was really well thought out. The composition of every scene literally follows the rule of thirds in like photographic composition to the T. And when you get to where we're coming to in a minute, when you've got the sort of phone call situation, some of the way they did the shots there were brilliant. I was like, this director is filming like he should have been filming The Exorcist, but instead he's been given the Canadian Halloween to film, but he's filming it as if he's filming The Exorcist.
Yeah, true.
Honestly, it was really, I mean, maybe it was that sort of time of the day for me, but it was really striking, especially with when they do the stuff with the phone receiver, the brown phone, and they're kind of interspersing scenes in between it, and the way that the sort of pencil was tapped on the page. I was like, this dude's well above his pay grade. Whoever the art director is here, he's filming for an Oscar. He's not going to get it, but fair play.
Not gonna get it.
No.
But no, I agree. Like the pencil tapping was
Can you explain to me why he
Eerie?
crossed the name off of somebody that didn't?
because he
didn't
was
answer the phone?
because he was angry. That's why.
He was really angry, yeah. He
Yeah.
did it with
Oh,
a
okay.
pen.
And that
like-
came through. That came through the pencil.
the pencil.
So that's some good directing right there. Killer was angry. Scribbles with the pencil. The pencil told you everything you needed to know.
Okay.
So my next note is the old "don't tell anyone there's a homicidal maniac on the loose" plot device. And then I asked myself, what year did Halloween come out?
I shot him 6 times.
They're like, no, don't tell anybody. We don't want everyone to be afraid.
Death has come to your town, sheriff. I can't
love
do that in a
Donald
Canadian
Pleasance.
accent, so I'm just gonna skip that.
So definitely the Canadian Halloween. That's when I realized it anyway. Okay, now it's time for facts I just made up. Did you know that Ashtray, that's Biff, Ashtray's car will go on to become the Ghostbusters car? It's true.
You wrote that down.
Speaking
That's-
of cars, one of them drives a what is it, like a Corvette or
Wendy.
yeah,
Wendy
Wendy.
drives a vet.
again, I don't know where you teenagers kind of get your money from in America, but
No,
we
our
were
parents.
driving but like even the rich kids over here were driving clapped out. I mean, that is a rich kid over here.
Well,
like
my
to have
my
a Corvette.
first car My
No,
first car
that's
was like a
that's a rich kid over here
Yeah.
too. None of us
Yes.
got Corvettes when we were in high school.
I think you're all underestimating the power of the Canadian dollar. Okay, let's not
Okay.
forget.
Definitely.
or it was the car available to the production designer. But
Yeah.
like my
It
first
was a
car
nice
was
car, though.
Very nice.
I think my brother bought his 78 Camaro. It had racing stripes. It was beautiful.
Very
and
nice.
it was like I think he paid like $2,800 for it in 92. So
And how old was it? 78 to 92? It's okay.
it was a 78 Camaro.
Yeah.
But it was decked out.
I
It
was
was
just
beautiful.
trying to figure out how old
right.
the car
you
was.
know, the
when he bought it,
chrome mags, like all these different things, and then he let me drive it. So that was my first car. So you don't really know where Biff got the car or where Slick got the car. It could have been his brother's car. He's
Or-
letting him
or
drive
Wendy
it.
got the
Or
car.
maybe it's his parents' car.
Wendy had the nicest car.
It's not like Clueless where everybody's driving around in Beamers and
Right.
brand new Wranglers.
Well, it's easy to do that when everywhere you go has valet.
Right.
Hmm.
That's true.
Can't do it on the roads of England, as you said earlier. The roundabouts will just
Yeah.
confuse everybody in a Corvette.
Oh,
With
yeah.
those tyres, you'll just go skidding off into a bush somewhere.
And then you get stuck on the inside lane. You're like, kids, Big Ben, Parliament. Kids.
Because that's all there is in England.
Yeah.
That's the whole of England.
Russ. It's Big Ben.
That's a vacation movie,
I love
obviously,
that
that I haven't seen.
I just can't get left. Or no, I can't get right. That's what it was.
I don't know.
He was on the inside left lane.
I haven't seen the movie, but I could picture it.
Oh, it's so
hysterical.
funny.
Such
Oh.
a great film. My cousin from New York came across once. We went to a garage to get some smokes late at night. He was probably not all there for driving, and he got on the road and drove on the wrong side. And we were driving along. I was like, "Dude, you're on the wrong side of the road." And he's like, "Oops." So it is a real struggle. I've been there, and he was born in this country too.
What side of the road?
They drive on the opposite side.
No,
over
they
there.
don't.
Yeah, they do.
Yes,
Well, they
we
drive
do.
on their side.
Do you know why we drive on the left-hand side?
The
Why?
steering
You know
wheel's
why
on the
it's-
wrong side of the car.
No,
Yeah.
why?
Because when we were approaching an army, like most of our soldiers were right-handed, so our swords would be like pointing outwards to the right. And it was Napoleon who, this is all probably complete bollocks, by the way. So this is just what
You read it
people
on
in
the
pubs
internet.
have told me. Yeah, people in
Yeah.
pubs have told me this. But apparently it was like Napoleon marched his armies on the wrong side. So anyone who drives on the side that you guys drive on is basically a friend of Napoleon's and not a
Oh,
friend
shit.
of ours.
I'm sorry. Well, why didn't they just flip the side of the sword and then they wouldn't have to change all the roads?
Well, because they'd have to change
This one
what
goes
handed
to
they are.
11.
This one goes to 11. Right.
Well, the
I
French,
have no
the
answer.
French did help us out, so
Yeah, we're both right, I guess.
yeah.
Or we're both left. It doesn't matter.
Gosh, we're really bringing up old wounds here, boys.
I think we're going to get through it.
Yeah, I think so.
I was going to say the French definitely helped the Canadian with this film though, because there was a lot of style to the lighting and direction. I thought so. Back on track like a pro.
Yeah, good segue.
Thank
So
you.
I think at this point in the movie, people are about to start dying.
I
Right,
think so.
in my
Maybe.
notes.
They might. They
So-
might wait till the end.
I mean, where we're at. My next note was that watching white people dance is like trying not to look at a car wreck. Do you know what I mean by that?
I don't relate to that, but I hear you.
So like when you drive past a car wreck, like you can't not look
You
at
have
it
to
because
watch.
it's so terrible.
Well,
That's-
even the white guys that can dance, they still watch those people and laugh.
No,
So-
I don't say white. Like I'm not gonna,
Not
all
making a
white
race.
people, all white people can't dance. There's some white people that are really good at dancing. This movie is what they're talking about when they're talking about white people dancing.
Yes.
The stereotype.
And sadly, it's because that's the way dancing was back then.
I know, like the Napoleon Dynamite moves
Yes.
that they were doing. Yeah,
Which makes Napoleon Dynamite even funnier.
yeah. I thought of my parents
Yes.
when I watched these dancing
Which
scenes.
I've never seen your parents dance. So, see, it doesn't make sense to me because my parents both danced on American Bandstand. So,
Well,
know.
your family.
yeah,
you're good dancers.
they were
in your
not
family.
the good the example.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
think it
weird
was-
flex, is what that is.
What do you mean?
I don't even know what American Bandstand is.
American
so it's fine.
Bandstand.
What?
Oh wow,
Richard doesn't know what American Bandstand is.
it's
I
kind
can
of
guess
like
from the words. Like I'm intelligent enough to take two words like that and figure it out. But
do you know who
generally-
Dick Clark is? Dick Clark.
yeah, I do
Okay.
know who Dick Clark is.
Do you
yeah.
know who Jerry Blavat is?
No idea.
Okay, well, Dick Clark used to run a TV show that in New York City, and they branched off and did a Philly show as well, where basically people just danced on TV to current popular music.
Right.
And
yeah,
then they
I
had their
didn't-
featured dancers. They had guests come in and sing the songs. So my parents were dancers on those shows.
Okay. That's a good pedigree to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Over here, we had a program called Top of the Pops, where bands would go on and mime, and paedophiles would roam around the audience.
my
And we're
God.
not allowed to show episodes of it anymore because
Oh my
that is actually literally true. That's
Wow.
not even not even a joke.
That escalated quickly. Holy shit. Did they have white vans?
You should probably point out, Richard, that it wasn't by design that you had pedophiles roaming the crowds. It was just a,
or was
a
it?
horrible
Was that in
coincidence.
the pitch? The pitch of the show? We need pedophiles. No, I'm saying it. We need pedophiles.
Pedophiles.
Yeah, we need to have these people dancing, but we need pedophiles to be walking around. Maybe a few white vans. I don't know, but we need to have this.
Oh
Wow.
man.
Wow,
Yeah,
that
so-
escalated quickly.
So yeah, over here you wouldn't get people flexing so much about, I was a dancer on Top of the Pops, and
Oh wow.
Jimmy Savile and Gary
Oh.
Glitter were on it at the same time. So
Yes, that name you just said, I know what you're talking about now. Yes.
might ring a bell now. Sorry. Anyway,
Yes.
back
As
to
soon as you said that name,
beautiful-
I knew what you're talking about. Okay.
beautiful, colourful Canada.
Yeah.
So one thing I think George needs for context, and maybe you already know this, George, this movie is filmed essentially right as disco is dying in the United States. Are you familiar
Mhm.
with the death of disco and all that stuff?
Uh,
Are you aware that it was
celebrate
like a national event?
no.
The
I'm not.
the
Yeah, it was
people
kind of
rose
big.
up against the tyranny of disco, and baseball park had a giant like bring all the disco stuff you can, let's burn it in a big pile because disco is dead. In '79, have you heard about any of that happening?
No.
Well, that happened, and it's bonkers. This movie is shot like a month after they burn all the disco stuff, but it's in Canada, so I guess the word hadn't made it north yet.
They
that-
weren't. Yeah.
It's
they weren't
really
aware of
interesting
it
though
yet.
because what you're gonna see in a couple of years, there's that movie Flashdance. There's a couple other real dance
Footloose.
Footloose. A lot of 80s movies centered around modern dance, like post-disco dance. And there's going to be a bunch of slashers that feature elements of Flashdance and the other modern disco, post-disco dancing. This is the only slasher I can think of that is like primely in the actual era of disco. So it becomes like an historical document a bit, getting this ridiculous dancing from JLC and company.
Mm.
She had some training.
I mean, you say ridiculous. I'd like to say beautiful dancing.
Yeah.
I thought
Elegant.
it was
elegant.
a
Elegant.
She had moves.
thing of wonder. I mean, she had like
Yes.
a 10-minute disco focus section in the film. That was intense.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, there's a movie called Perfect, I think. Was that the one she did with John Travolta, where she was a yoga, not a yoga, like an aerobics instructor? And wow, like the movie's not good.
JLC was?
Yeah, the movie's not great.
I
It's
gotta
not
see
even
that.
really good, but it's like 80s Let's Get Physical, but like sexy as hell.
Mm.
And she's like leading classes, and he's like flirting with her in the class, and
Mhm.
like she's just up there doing her thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, damn.
but it's more aerobic than it is disco. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's not disco at all.
Is it the kind of movie that could be playing in, say, like a morgue in a Jason movie?
Yes,
yeah,
but
yeah,
a
it
little
does
bit more
actually.
serious. More serious.
Yeah, it does fit
Yes.
Friday 4 pretty good.
Yes.
Okay, so people start dying. The Kelly kill was good. It was
silent-
it was
that
the
one where
first.
the silent.
Yes, the
eyes
first
close up?
kill. I said, I like how everything slowed down for the Hitchcock hear it but don't see it.
Yeah.
Trick. Very good. I love it. Like
Yeah.
how it slowed down and it gave you like you couldn't miss it. It was as intense for the viewer as it was for the person being slashed. I love it. 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Every scene featuring Fat Elvis is so cringy. This is the next kill. We already talked about a lot of the things that happened in that scene. I'll just leave it at that. So cringy.
Did you notice that they actually stole the order of kills from Halloween at this point? Because you get the throat slash, just like you get Annie's. And then you get the
Right.
couple kill, just like you get Totally, PJ Souls and her and Bob.
Mhm.
But they reverse
Mhm.
the order of the kill because they
Right.
kill her first and then him.
Mhm.
Right.
But it's the same. They're just taking the Halloween formula and just turning it 180 degrees.
Totally.
Yes. I didn't notice that, but now that you mention it, yeah.
And then Michael was at the dance. Did you see him? No, he didn't.
Well, they did that to me in the Halloween episode.
Yeah. And Tom Atkins was there too.
Did you see
him
Did you see Michael in this scene? No, I didn't. Well, get back and
Oh
watch
yeah,
it.
he
He's
was
there.
out by the car. He's right there.
He's right there. You
Yeah.
just don't see him. He's there.
Are we just going to gloss over the fact that Slick managed to
Yes.
do his moves and punch the guy out of the van? That
Yes.
was awesome.
We're gonna gloss that over.
Kung Fu Fat Elvis had to be seen. Just like, get the fuck out of here. Bash.
Yeah,
Nickname
Love
is
it.
solid.
it wasn't bad. It was good. I liked how when he backed the van up trying to run the killer over, which was very smart, the van doors magically close, which I thought there was a lady's head hanging out of them. Sorry for that frog. But apparently not. Apparently I was
not.
mistaken. I also
There's a lot
enjoy
of cheating in this movie.
I also
definitely.
enjoy how the van exploded midair before it hit anything coming off the cliff. Did you guys catch that?
Well, he had a Stinger missile in the back of his.
It was a test site.
So that scene did not do it for me as well as the first one, but they can't all be winners. Moving
They
on.
can't all be sleeping bag kills.
Moving
against
on.
the tree.
My next note, I'm calling it right now. It's the ambulance driver. Okay, my next note.
You mean Roy?
It was Roy, yeah.
It was Roy.
Okay, so I wrote down kill, 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 toss her out the window. This must be the Wendy chase.
Hmm.
I love the parallel between in the Wendy chase and the game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Beautiful. Wonderful. I wrote when she was in the garage, don't bother with the cars. They never start in these movies anyway. Unless you're a virgin, then you might, have some luck at the very last second.
Maybe she was. Maybe she was just putting up a front.
Maybe. Again, I'm loving this Wendy chase. Wendy kill was good again. I was actually kind of rooting for her, but oh well.
Mm.
Let's talk about Wendy.
Let's
a
talk
little
about
bit.
Wendy.
She was...
Her name is Eddie, by the way. That's weird.
That is weird.
Her real name.
That is weird. She was not nice, right? She was not nice as a
Typical
kid.
mean girl.
She was
Yeah.
not nice as a teenager. She
Not
was very...
nice as a 40-year-old high school student.
very entitled, just very selfish, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
However, when you're fighting a slasher, those could be, useful qualities,
Mhm.
right? So,
It keeps you from being the final girl, though. Unfortunately.
right. And that's what I thought. Well, actually, the first kill, I thought that. I was like, well, hold on. They broke the cardinal rule here.
Yeah. Well, you don't know what her backstory is. Maybe.
Yeah, you do. I think they tell you that,
Okay.
don't they?
I don't know. Well, this is different. This is like a revenge killer. So it kind of throws things out the window because if they're involved in the incident that he's avenging, then their background really doesn't matter. Now, they might escape death. They might be attempted. Like, we don't know. Maybe he didn't slice fully deep and they save her. I don't know.
Does everybody know what rule we're talking about?
I
The
think
virgin
so.
lives rule?
I think Dan left.
I'm here. I'm just letting you get it on tape so I can
Okay.
fix it later.
I mean, I would.
So you
Yeah,
can edit the shit out of it.
I totally get the rule. I mean, I was already just stuck on the guy smoking weed always gets killed
Right.
rule, which is
Right.
like the primary rule of these films that seems to stick
Mhm.
in my mind for whatever reason. But yeah, no, I'm with you. The order was sort of the innocent one. You didn't expect it in the way it happened, but yeah.
Well, there was a thing back in the 80s, and I noticed. I don't know if Dan noticed this when we were watching New York Ninja, when the gang members were attacking the car and they were putting like shit through the windows and stuff. Someone yelled. Oh, the reporter lady yelled, "I think they're on drugs." Like it's just like it's
was
just
always
the
drugs.
thing back then.
It
that
was
everybody-
massive though,
Yes.
wasn't it? It
Are you
was
on dope?
huge.
Yeah, everything's about dope or drugs or whatever. back
Yeah, we
then.
just talked
Everything-
about one of
yeah.
the movies where they blamed. I said it was definitely a Reagan era movie because they were like, "Oh, I think he was on
Yeah.
drugs." No, I don't.
I was
remember
just
what movie that
about to
was.
blame Nancy
Well,
Reagan. I was just
this
like,
this
that's all
movie's
their fault.
this movie's before them is I believe this one is.
Yeah, it was filmed in
This is 80.
'79.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that pops up all the time. Like I think it was Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. We
Oh, that you're right.
mentioned that
Yes.
a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's
'Cause
on drugs.
That was their go-to. The go-to was, oh, they must be on drugs, or no.
Oh,
they're
that
just-
was a freaky film, though. I watched that recently because I thought I haven't seen the Nightmare films for ages, and 14-year-old me did not see that this was an entire gay subtext film.
right. Well, we
I
talk
was
about
like,
it.
What? How did I
Yeah.
miss that? But yes, it's a well-known fact. Having sex before marriage, smoking weed, gonna get you killed by an axe-wielding maniac. Fact.
Fact.
You know what else gets you killed if you're a Shih Tzu? Or what was
Yeah.
what was that dog in Friday?
It was a Shih Tzu in
Was
Friday
it
too. Yeah.
Lhasa Apso or
So Anne-Marie Martin, who played Wendy, was a writer on Twister. That's cool.
Wait a minute.
She was only like 22 when she made this movie, guys.
What's her name?
She looked older, though.
Anne-Marie
It
Martin.
didn't help. Her costumes didn't help.
Anne-Marie Martin. They have her as Eddie Benton in the cast list.
Oh,
So
really?
somebody messed up. Yeah, someone messed up. Didn't you hear me say her name is Eddie in real life?
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
was
wait,
gonna
what?
Dan and post you, but that's weird.
Sweet, do that. in cast list it says Wendy Eddie Benton. So I wasn't sure if that was like a family name or something.
That's weird.
And the name you said is not even up here. Anne-Marie, you said?
You know,
That's
when you
not even
search
right.
Eddie Benton, it comes up
Yeah.
Anne-Marie Martin. So I guess she probably did that movie under a pseudonym and dropped it when she became a
Oh.
writer. That's
Gotcha.
interesting.
So Dan and Post can be quiet.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do anything.
Travis hates Dan and Post. I
Alternate
love it.
names, Eddie Benton. Wow, that's weird.
She's like friggin' Stephen King.
She was
All right, let
married
me
to
ask-
Michael Crichton. Guys, this lady's
What?
life
What?
is really interesting.
She's married. She was married to Michael Crichton.
That's what
Maybe
it
that's why
says.
she looked familiar to me. I'm looking at her. I'm like, she looks familiar.
She has a kid with Michael Crichton.
Wow. Is it a velociraptor?
I was going to say, did she make it by getting some DNA out of some amber, or is it half robot and we just don't know it? Who knows?
The child looks like a
Yul
robot.
Brynner.
You pull the Yul Brynner. I couldn't remember his name. Holy shit! That's
And she pops
hilarious.
up in Halloween too. Guys, she's more interesting than this movie.
She's a friend of the show.
She's a friend of the show, yeah.
Holy crap! Forget everything. No, I said nice things about her, so forget it.
Richard,
Hello.
you have another podcast that you're on, correct?
Correct.
Right. So, question for you from podcaster to podcaster. Do you ever listen to your own podcast episodes?
Oh man, I have to listen to every one because I'm the one who writes the notes about what goes on. So
Okay.
I have to, a week later, like Brian will edit it all together, and then a
Okay.
week later I'll get it and I'll listen to it. I don't listen to the Patreon ones because another guy, Blake, puts those up.
Okay.
So I'm spared that except if I want to. But I do listen back to them. And do you know what the worst thing is? I find myself laughing uncontrollably sometimes at myself laughing uncontrollably at things. So I kind of think
Okay.
it's hard to do, but you kind of get used to it after a while. Like I've got over the fact that I hate the way I sound in every
Well,
single
right.
fucking
You
word
know-
that comes out of my mouth.
Well, I can
We
can see
we make fun of George because he doesn't listen to the show that he's on.
I can well, yeah, that's the thing. I never listen to the
Brian
episodes.
doesn't either.
Yeah.
I mean, he edits them, but he'll never listen to the show, and I don't think Blake really does. Because who's got time to listen to themselves talk shit?
I let him run while I'm at work. Like it's to me, it's
Travis-
my
Travis
radio. I listen
listens-
to him over and over again.
Dan, do you listen to the episodes?
I edit the episodes, so I get really
Right.
intimately familiar, and then I generally don't listen again unless I'm showing somebody something.
Yeah,
Right,
there's certain
okay.
episodes where I'll listen to a few times.
Because
definitely.
I almost never listen to the episodes when we
You're like
first
Johnny Depp.
when we first started. Yeah, you've said that.
Yeah.
When we first started, I listened to the episodes just to see how it sounded, like, because I was curious. But now that like we're rolling and we're going, I never listen.
Mhm.
And someone will, like, a random person will be like, "Oh, I loved this episode," and I'm always like, "Cool, maybe I should listen to it." I mean, I lived it, so why do
Right.
I have to listen to it? But
There's little things
when
in there.
you-
Like Dan will throw in little things that makes it
Right.
new again.
Crap my ass! Just do it, man!
when you, Richard, when you mentioned our podcast on your podcast, you mentioned, what movie was it?
The Exorcist?
Yeah, The Exorcist.
Did
And
I?
I was like, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, oh, it sounds like something fun to listen to. I was like, maybe I should listen to that podcast.
I actually listened to it again because I sort of full disclosure, I don't have time to sort of sit down or walk my dog for an hour and a half and listen to a whole podcast sometimes. So I tend to listen to chunks, and I'll listen to half an hour. So I've listened to like at least 5 or 6 of your episodes like halfway through, and then just got distracted by stuff, because that's what happens in life.
That's us when we're recording, so I hear you.
Yeah, and I went back today and thought, no, let me listen to and I loved it. It was a great episode, and I was sort of talking along to you as I did so. But what I found listening back to myself sometimes is I have learned, the things that I'm doing wrong, like saying all the time, like saying right at the end of every sentences, and I consciously try and stop myself. But then when you try and consciously do anything, you lose the flow and you don't say the funny thing that immediately springs to mind. So it's a real tough balance, but definitely listen to yourself. It's worth doing.
To me, it's like, it's something I already know what's going to happen, but it's always nice to listen. And then Dan throws in little sound bites or whatever, or he'll do the Dan and Post or whatever. So it kind of makes it a new show for me, at least once.
Yeah, and sometimes you can surprise yourself as well.
Yeah.
Like, you can talk for hours, forget exactly what you said, which is normally what, like, the minute we finish the podcast, we talk about something else and I've forgotten everything. When I listen back to it, I'm like, actually, you should have probably talked about that a bit more, because you were onto something. So yeah, definitely listen back. But I'm really enjoying your show, guys. I think
Thank you.
I was a little bit like, when you came up with the format, I was a little bit envious. I was like, that is such a brilliant thing to do, because George, I don't know whether you realise how similar you are to Brian in terms of, like, he cannot watch films. He literally cannot watch them. They scare him too much. So
Really?
He's got like this hypersensitivity thing, and like every single film I talk about is like, nope, never seen it, nope, and I'm like, what? You've never seen like little things like James Bond? He's like, well, never seen one. What? How can you live life? And he's just never seen them, and I guess you're kind of the same. Like that.
And that's where this show was born, because I've known George since he was 5, because I dated his sister, and now I married his sister, so he's in my life forever. And every year of his life, it bothered me that he didn't know things.
Yeah.
So like when
you
he
are
was
the best brother-in-law ever, though.
yeah, when he was like 6 or
awesome.
7, I'm like, wait, I would say to Jen, I'm like, he's got to see Goonies. We got to show him this. We got to show him that. She's like, I don't know. And then before I know, I'm like, I find out my wife's never seen these movies either. So. And then we had a whole thing where she would see somebody in a TV show or in a movie, and she would go, I know that person. And I was able to tell her where she knew that person from.
Right.
Not the 40 movies I've seen them in, but I had to say, okay, you've seen maybe 2 of them. So it was this movie you know them from. And she'll go, oh, you're right. That's where he's from. And I'm like, you don't know half the shit this guy did, but you know that movie. It used to drive me nuts. So then we're like, at one point I want to fix George, and before the reaction videos and stuff, I don't know what we discussed we were going to do. I think we were just going to sit down. I was just going to start. I showed you like Aliens and I showed you a few movies that were my favorites.
Before we had an idea to do a podcast, you tried to fix me right before I went to college.
Right.
I was in high school, and you showed me a couple of things, and then I went off to college.
I showed him Aliens on freaking Laserdisc.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. What
No,
kind of a good brother is that?
That's awesome. Laserdisc was a thing of
we had to flip that shit over mid-movie.
Yeah.
You also showed me My Cousin Vinny.
My Cousin Vinny.
And
Jurassic Park on Laserdisc.
Jurassic Park. And there was one other one. The Fifth Element
Yes.
was one that you showed.
So then when George...
Crazy
Dan,
film. I love that film
I
so
love that movie
much.
too.
Yeah.
So then Dan
Haven't
had the
seen that
same
for years.
reaction. Dan's like, I gotta fix this guy.
Yeah, George, how come you never saw... Sorry if this is old territory for all the podcast
That's okay.
listeners, but how come you never saw any films? Were you just not into films, or were you too busy watching...
It was...
Just watching Rugrats.
I think it was a combination of things. When I was real young, my parents are like super like conservative, religious, and there was a lot of stuff that they just like wouldn't let in the house. Like Travis, for instance.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed.
Like The Exorcist and The Omen were probably off the table at that stage. Then I get it.
Which is ironic because I'm a convert now, so I'm Catholic. So it's like,
well,
but
I think
still
it's
watch
well
those movies.
known. It's well known that The Exorcist has done more to convert people to Catholicism than any single film ever. I think
probably,
and it probably succeeded for many
I can
people.
see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up in a pretty religious house, and and my when I got to the point where I wanted to rebel, and I wanted to be my own person, my avenue for that was music. So I went right into punk rock and, harder alternative rock and hardcore rock. And, I was just
Nickelback.
like music. I was like music. Yeah. Nickelback.
No, he was a big Weezer guy for a
Nickelback,
long time.
Creed. Yeah. And that was like my avenue. And, all of my friends who liked movies, they all tried to fix me. They all did. I had friends in college.
I love the term "fix you." I mean, we would use that over here for castration. Let's be clear. So
Same here.
It just sounds like that everyone wants to sterilize you.
No. I was broken. I was broken, and like my friend Zach, he was a good friend of mine in college, and he tried to show me all these movies, and we just had way too much Jack Daniels for me to remember any of it every time.
But he introduced you to Tarantino, though, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so he
did.
good on him. Good on him.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's makes sense
So-
now. The religion thing I get, because we don't do religion over here in the same way as you guys do.
Yeah.
We're very moderate over here.
Yeah,
generally.
we were super conservative, religious, and then my avenue for, rebelling was music. And then I went to college, and I don't remember much from college. And then, and now I'm older. I have a family, and I have a budget for recording. And
I'm glad
It
we're
just
doing it
was
this way
like-
because I'm learning a lot, because of Dan, but I'm also getting to watch movies that I've seen 1,000
Yeah.
times, and I'm getting to watch them with a different eye, and I'm getting to see movies I haven't seen, like this, and seeing it with a different eye, because obviously Dan knows me well enough to know that I hated this movie, but at least through the episodes that we've had, I can appreciate this movie for what
Sure.
it is. But there are things, as the actor, I'm an actor, director type mentality. I watched movies like this on a level of, man, that was a terribly delivered
Like,
line. If they would have just said it this way, it would have been fine. Like, that gets in my way all the time. So I can
Right.
kind of say, okay, like if I've even said if I were in this movie, I would deliver it this way, and it would have been much better. And that sometimes I got to take that aspect away because it's an 80s movie. It's Canadian. It might have been filmed a certain way. Maybe they had this and that. And so I try to be a little less critical about movies like this. Now, movies today.
But you make a really good point about seeing movies with your eyes today, because I've watched like every film that I love. I've originally probably seen on VHS at 256 lines on a 21-inch TV at best. And watching those films again on, high definition, whatever screen, etc., it's a totally different experience. And it's great to have an excuse to do it. I mean, I just, I have time on Saturday, so I'm like, I'm going to watch all of the Aliens films or whatever. But a lot of these films really stand up against the shit that they're producing today.
Yes.
Because of the creativity they were forced to tap into. And this film is no exception, because they didn't have a special effects budget, but they did have amazing coloured lighting throughout. This is probably, next to Dario Argento, this is probably one of the best lit films I've ever seen, guys.
Right. You're speaking my language, Richard. You're speaking my language.
Even though I hate this film, I've got to put it out there, I found the deaths a little bit monotone, and we'll go on to the rest in a minute. And it didn't do much for me as a horror film. As a film, I loved it because of the colours, because of the sounds, because of the Fat Elvis. What's not to love?
See, that's what I love about Richard. You're my new best friend. You just you spoke my language, because you can like a movie for certain reasons, and you can hate a movie for certain reasons, and you should never be ridiculed for having an opinion that maybe both end up in the same movie.
Right.
There are things about a movie you can like, and then someone says a half hour is just cringeworthy dialogue where you just want to punch a baby. I've been there. I've watched, and it's more excusable in the 80s than now. When I watch a movie now, the money's there. The studio's backing it. It's millions of dollars. They have actors that have done 30, 40, 50 movies. There's no excuse for the bullshit that angers me when I watch a movie.
Exactly.
Tell me
But back
where
then-
Halloween Kills touched you on the doll.
I'm not even getting into that, but I'm just saying.
Ever since that movie
This-
launched, Travis has been on a tear to hate every movie.
I'm on a tear. No, well, you know why I hate this movie.
I don't know that I do.
The acting is terrible.
Canadian. No, it's Canadian.
It's
You
Canadian.
see over here.
But there's a lot of salvageable things in this movie
Yeah.
where I can be like, okay, but like when we were watching the movie the other night, the New York Ninja, it was the same thing. Like the acting was killing me, the dubbing was killing me. All these things were just destroying my faith in movies. And then I watched the documentary and it put it in context, and then I was able to at least appreciate what was done. With this, I'm the same way. Like I'm watching it. I literally watched this movie 5 times. I
Wow.
never got through it in 5 times.
Did
I
you see
watched
the ending?
here at George's today because I kept freaking falling asleep.
I had to watch the ending twice today because I was like, wait a minute, yeah. So
I would nod
yeah.
off, and I was like, "What did I miss? What did I miss?" And I kept
Yeah.
rewinding, and then before I know it, we were recording, and I'm like, "All right, well, I need to know how this movie ends." So I dealt with the ending, and I'm fine. I got the whole movie in. I'm gonna try to watch it again, maybe at a regular time and not after work. But it's like, to me, it was, for a horror film, it was boring.
Right, but I tell
Yeah.
you what, roll a fat one, sit back, spark it up, and enjoy it for the colours, the sound, and the terrible dialogue. And like the bit that got me, and we haven't really touched on it, is all the thought sequences where people are walking along thinking,
Yeah.
and you've got like Leslie Nielsen
The inner
talking to
dialogue.
himself into his. Love it. I was
Yeah.
just like, you didn't need to do this, but you did. You went there.
See, it would have been cool if Leslie Nielsen was a killer. That's what I kept
Yeah.
thinking. I'm like, okay.
I
they
was
made it-
hoping it would be the mum. I
Okay,
was
yeah.
thinking, it would have been because he had the makeup on at the end and all of that, and I just thought, it
Yeah.
would have been so cool if it had been the mum. But too
But
psycho.
that's so close
That-
to 1980. It's so Mrs. Voorhees. I doubt they would have gotten away with that. I'm assuming they were both filmed at the same time, so they couldn't be stealing from each other. So that would have
So-
been actually funny if it was a woman at the end.
We need to get into the context of when and how they made this movie, but I know George wanted to get through his notes first.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, my
Oh.
bad.
I'm actually pretty close to the end. We talked about Wendy, how I actually I really liked Wendy.
You like a mean woman, George.
She was
Yeah.
a misunderstood character, I think.
Yeah.
I want to meet her parents.
Biff or Ashtray, or whatever you want to call him. Head on the catwalk was cool.
The best part of the film.
I think-
you can't gloss over that. That
Yeah.
was the best part.
I think that the actor's body under the floor is my favorite effect. We've seen it multiple times. Now, like,
That's a Savini thing.
whenever I see a severed head or, someone's head looking at their body being stabbed, I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, their body's under the floor and it's a fake body, but it's their actual head. It's a good effect. Like,
is.
it works, man.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it just works.
When it's done well, it works even better, like American Werewolf, where that entire werewolf body, when he's on his back turning into the werewolf, none of that is him.
Can
Oh,
I
man,
tell you?
we've done JLC. We're now on to Jenny Agutter. I mean, don't even get me started on that one. But
Oh yeah.
you can't do a fake head. Like, I have never seen a fake head that has actually made me
yeah.
reel a bit in horror. They just
true.
look so sculpted.
It's true.
You've got, and even CGI, you have to. They still can't do CGI faces like perfectly. I know they do a lot of sub-skeletal muscle crap now, but even so, nothing looks as good as a real head and gives you that shock value. So I love
They
that
should be
scene.
lopping heads off on the set.
Correct.
Definitely make it look real. Gotta commit.
Correct.
It's in your contract. You have to be beheaded at the end of this movie. Anyway,
American Werewolf.
yes.
You know how I have this, like this side chick where a bunch of my friends, like, we all like take turns picking movies and watch them.
Yeah, you're
It's-
your mistress. You
Yeah.
know about her.
So it was my turn this week, and I made everyone watch American Werewolf.
Nice.
So-
How many of them haven't seen it?
A good few.
Nice.
A good
I
few.
mean,
at least 4 of them.
So much of that film is legendary for us in England. I
Oh,
mean,
sure.
not least the fact that you've got Rick Mail in the pub scene, and Rick Mail means very little to Americans, but to British, he was like I don't know. He was kind of like a Bill Hicks type character over here. It's just like a comedian that was taken too young, that everybody loved. Everybody loved him. And he had a little role in the pub with I forget the other guy who was in Alien 3. I forget his name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. But actually, the best cameo in that movie is Rick from The Young Ones.
That's it, Rick Mail, Rick from The Young Ones. That's it.
Guy.
It's like spits out his beer in the slaughtered lamb, which is such a. I mean, I've been into pubs in the UK that are like that. That still exists today. There are parts of this country where you could walk in and like literally everybody just stops and looks at the funny
That's
Americans.
Funny.
So
So American Werewolf for you is like Rocky here in Philly.
Oh, such a great film.
Yeah.
Like we live 5 minutes away from the art museum that he runs up the steps. So
Right.
it's like Rocky Balboa is our, American Werewolf, I guess.
I love that.
I love that film so much.
Yeah.
I love that pub scene, the exchange when they're asking if they can get food or if they can get like, hot chocolate or whatever, and she's like, no, we have beer and we have spirits. If you want something hot, then you can have tea. And he's like, well, can we have? Do you have tea? And she's like, no. But I can make you some. It's so
honestly,
good.
No.
There are still places in England like that. That's the horrible, weird thing. You can, I mean, dudes, if you ever get a chance to watch a comedy called The League of Gentlemen, just don't hesitate.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm going to divert onto American Werewolf. Fate. I love that film so much.
Yes,
anyway,
it's one of my favorites. I'm glad it's now one of George's because I was
one of mine.
excited about that.
Very good. All right, so we're at the very end now.
Of your notes?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a few things about the end, the things I was thinking, because you were here at that point, and I didn't write down my notes at this point. But I thought we were going to see a Friday 4 type beating,
right,
or killer killing. Not so, but it was there. Is what I thought when it was happening, and at the very end had I think it's Friday 5 feel to me.
What, the reveal?
When the killer is unmasked, and I was like, okay, who the hell is that?
Oh, right, because they were hiding him so much through the movie that when they reveal him, it's like, wait, who was that again? Yeah, they show him once in the principal's office.
So I was not wrong.
Right,
it was the ambulance driver.
Kind of, yeah.
It was just, well, who the hell is that guy?
Yeah,
right.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
and that's what bothered us the most about 5 was it's like,
yeah,
you did
like,
this big reveal and we forgot who he was.
Yeah, it's like, who the hell is this?
Good job.
You guys don't watch enough whodunits. That's what I've determined. You're going to get a whole season of Jalo just for punishment.
Please don't do that.
Oh, man.
Can we watch Clue instead?
That's a great film too.
I love Clue. Thank you for giving us Tim Curry, by the way, too.
Yes,
it's okay.
He's an international treasure.
He is pretty damn good. I'm not going to lie. I am a massive fan of some of the work he's been in for sure. I'm not big on the Rocky Horror Show though, which is everyone's go-to. But
we can have a whole episode on that because I agree. But I do love. I've done that.
It's a great film. Yeah, it's a musical. Great, whatever. But musicals and films.
Have you ever seen the on-stage musical? Not the
movie.
No,
I haven't nearly. But too many people use it as an excuse to go dressed as fat.
No, I hear you.
So
but if you're ever able to
tell us how you really feel, Richard.
If you're you're a guitar guy, right? Right?
I am, yeah.
Yes, so if you ever get a chance to see a top-notch theater production of the show, not it performing it in front of the movie on screen, like an actual production
no, I'm there, dude.
of the Rocky Horror Show, not Rocky Horror Picture Show, but the Rocky Horror Show. It fucking rocks.
And I get it with the movie, and Richard O'Brien was brilliant in it because that's Richard O'Brien, but honestly,
yes.
It isn't the cult film of my childhood, even though it is for a lot of people. But I will definitely go check it out. I love a musical. We do go to see a lot of theatre productions. Well, we did before the virus hit the world.
I hear you. Before Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got red on you. That's another one.
Your English accents are better than Brian's, though. I'll give you that.
Our big quote is, I'll do it on the night.
Yeah, on the night.
I'll do it on the night. Yeah, definitely.
Have you guys actually ever watched the TV show Spaced that Simon Pegg did before any of his Hollywood stardom.
I've seen like old VHS pirate versions of it. Like people here in the conventions, they have VHS
Oh,
things.
really? It's like streaming over here on about 4 different free platforms. It's brilliant though. He plays a geek in it, so it's well worth watching if you like your Simon Pegg.
I love him.
I do. Yeah.
That was another movie I showed George, and it opened his eyes to what he was missing.
Oh, and dude, like at the time, I had no reference
Nah,
for any of it. I still liked it, but like now that I watch it after, it's 60 episodes of this podcast.
yeah.
Now
I mean,
I watch
to be
it.
fair,
and I'm like, oh my god. This is so
Shaun of
good.
the Dead was probably the start of the popularization of zombies. I was like, I've been watching zombie films for years, and now it's like Walking Dead, like Return of the Walking Dead. I forget them all, and obviously all
Fear.
of the, all of the like apocalypse films and whatnot. And I'm like, back in the 80s, there were 4 films, and like getting them was a real treat. So you know, zombies.
Well,
have
we
gone
did a whole
bit-
block. Dan can plug
I
that
saw,
for you
yeah.
later. I mean, that's we basically took George from Night of the Living Dead to Shaun of the Dead by showing him all the movies that are referenced.
Richard makes a good point, though. When I was in college, showing my girlfriend, now my wife, the Fulci zombie movies, her friends were like, ew, zombies? What a weirdo. And within like 5 years, they were mainstream and I looked really smart. But for a while there, it was touch and go. And Maggie, you were right to wonder.
The first one I saw was actually I don't think it was George Romero anyway, Return of the Living Dead, which is like the 80s cyberpunk, well, not really cyberpunk, 80s punk, toxic waste
Was that the
zombie film.
Was that the bring more ambulance?
paramedics?
Yeah.
That's the
Send
one.
more
More
paramedics.
paramedics.
Send more cops.
Send more cops.
Yep, we did
But
that
that
one.
film stuck with me, where you got the half a dog in formaldehyde that comes back
Yes.
to life. As a kid,
Yes.
that ruined me. I was like, I hate that. The weird head at the end of Star Trek and pretty much most of The Omen were my nightmares.
And that was a weird thing too, because when that came out, I was it like 84, 85? So we were young, and it screwed me up because Linnea Quigley did a lot of frontal nudity, and it was like, wow, I'm seeing this, and that looks awesome. But then she turns into some kind of weird big-headed creature, like an Easter Island statue with boobs, and I'm just like, oh my god, what's up with her head? Like the makeup on her was so like crazy, but she still had a hot body. So it was like,
And you're like, I
it's-
don't know what to
yeah,
feel.
I don't know what to feel.
Ah!
Can we crop this? Yeah.
And we stuck Return of the Living Dead plumb in the middle of the spring outbreak because it was
I'll
written
check it
by the
out.
same guy that wrote the Night of the Living Dead, so it fit in our timeline.
Okay, I remember there was some like link, but it was tenuous.
Yeah, it was like his sequel to Night of the Living Dead without Romero directing, basically.
Yeah, that was my into zombies basically.
I remember that being the fun zombie movie.
What's that? The
That
Return of
one-
the Living Dead?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
out of all the ones we watched, I was like, that one was the fun one.
It came out at the time, kind of like with The Gate and like all these critters and Puppet Master. Like all these movies came out in the 80s where they were campy, funny, trying to be scary. They had the kills,
Yeah.
but the characters were more, targeted towards children. But it's a horror
Dude,
movie.
in that movie
Yeah.
where when the paramedics get there and they're like taking the vitals of the two main characters, and they're like, the paramedics are like, I don't like they're dead.
Yeah.
I don't understand that like your temperature is 70, you have no pulse, you're
Right.
dead.
You're dead.
And he's like, what? And they're legitimately upset that they're dead.
Yes.
Because
They're not really
they don't
dead,
really
but they can rationalize.
Yeah, they don't.
That was weird.
Yeah, that's so good. They don't remember dying.
Yeah.
It's so good. But anyway,
Prom Night.
Prom
Yeah,
Night
Prom Night.
via American Werewolf and Return of the Living Dead.
Yes.
Love it.
whew,
We don't do segues here. We just go off on tangents. It's
yeah.
fine.
Suits me.
Now, George, you need some context for why Prom Night is actually better than you thought it was.
Okay.
I want to just tell you a couple of things. After Halloween hits in 78 and really getting popular in 79, you have like an initial wave of copycat slasher movies. And what's interesting about that first wave, it is pre-sequelitis, right? We don't have Friday the 13th Part 2, so we do not have this like, oh God, we just have to keep making the same story over and over again, sequel pressure. So what you end up with is a myriad of films copying aspects of Halloween, but not necessarily the same aspects that would be copied in future sequels. So by like 81
Okay.
and 82, you've got the formula, you've got the rules, and everything is, Halloween by way of Friday the 13th. And so everything has become homogenized. But what you see
Okay.
between Halloween and the end of 1980, you get Tourist Trap, which is more Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but produced by the same guy, Irwin Yablans, that did Halloween. You get The Silent Scream, which is kind of Hitchcock. You get The Fog, which we talked about, basically a continuation of the feeling of Halloween, but with a lot of
story.
not a lot of
Pirate
copy,
ghosts.
right? Just the same, a continuation of the feeling, but not the story. But then you get stuff like Don't Answer the Phone, He Knows You're Alone, or He'll Know You're Alone, which is just like an exploitation gem.
Or Stranger Calls.
Stranger Calls. When Stranger Calls, you get Friday the 13th, which
Stranger
is
Calls.
Halloween by way of Italian Giallo. You get Prom Night, which is Halloween again, but Canadian. You get Mother's Day, which is like Last House on the Left, combined with Halloween. It's super gross. Highly recommended.
Wasn't there like April Fool's Day was another one that kind of came out?
That wasn't out
Around that
yet.
time?
That's still
Okay.
That's post Friday. But then you get Fade to Black, which is produced again by Irwin Yablans. One guy produced 3 movies between Halloween and here, which is way more like theatrical. I think Travis would like that one because it's all about acting. New Year's Evil, which is a pile of garbage, but came out in December of 80. Like, that's just a chronological list of copycat Halloweens
So
in
I thought,
one
I thought
year.
everyone just died then because it just went acting and it went silent.
Well, yeah, that's my big hang up. So it's brought up when we do 80s movies because that's not.
It's brought up when we do every movie. Produced by Golan Globus, though. Are you guys familiar with Golan Globus?
Yeah, another weird production company.
They
right?
did New Year's Evil. It was horrible. They did Delta Force. It was less horrible. Still awful. But fun. They're fun bad. Like, if you told me that Golan
Yes.
Globus produced New York Ninja, I'd believe you, right? Because they just did fun movies, not focused on acting or plot. Mostly just spectacle, loosely connected by the characters being in the same scene as the last. Like, good stuff. But here's the thing.
Where the major killer isn't talked about or shown at all, and then all of a sudden he's at the end.
So Prom Night,
Yeah.
if you go back and watch, the brother is present throughout the movie and then kind of disappears in the third act because that's what happens in Whodunits. But Prom Night does a couple of things very specifically that I think make it kind of novel, because you wouldn't see this again once Friday the 13th kind of grabs hold of the genre and pushes us into copycat killers with sexual trauma or childhood trauma who kill everybody and then die but then don't die, right?
Right.
In Prom Night, what you have is basically Halloween, the night he didn't come home. And it relies on the fact that you've seen Halloween or these other, movies that have come out before then, which, there's a couple in the Hitchcockian tradition of, the psychopath, right? So they set up the psychopath, but this is the only movie I can think of offhand where he becomes a red herring himself. You have a legitimate escaped mental patient who is not coming to do the killing. And it is such a ballsy move, and I've not seen another movie pull it off with this much gusto.
You make a great point. I can't think of anything off the top of my head where the red herring is literally like just a complete red herring in this way. It's nicely executed.
It's almost so smoothly executing that it takes you a while to think about it because you're so wrapped up in that. I mean, the final scene is so dramatic, where you have the killer shove JLC out of the way, and you think, oh, she's gonna get hers next, and then it never even occurs to you that, oh, she's actually not gonna get hers because he's not mad at her. Like, this is a pure revenge killer. This isn't a psychopath.
Right.
I would have loved to have seen this film like without having seen every other slasher horror that I have seen. I imagine the impact a film like this has if you aren't familiar with everything that's happened in the last, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever.
Yeah, I wonder what that would be like.
Well, George doesn't have to. But, like with George, we watched From Dusk Till Dawn, and he had no idea. He had no trailer reference. He had no commercial
brilliant.
reference. So he had no idea that the ending was vampires. Like, he just was like...
So halfway through it changes to a completely different film. Excellent.
Dan and I were both patting each other on the back because we were just like, yes. He
no
got to watch
idea.
it the way we didn't because we got bombarded with Salma Hayek turning into a snake vampire during the commercial trailer. So it was like they just revealed it.
Such a
So,
great film.
Yes.
I got to experience that film probably like not many people
You're
ever.
probably one of the only people, other than people that are watching it now for the first time. We don't know how many there
Right,
are.
not
but
many.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Dan, what year did Sleepaway Camp come out?
That had to be like 84. That's like in your third
Okay.
wave. 83. So yeah.
So
So
they kind of do the same red herring thing as well.
what you have happen
Right.
is, the first wave all copy something from Halloween and try to clone it. The market determines, in that case, that Friday the 13th makes so much money and is so repeatable, and they rush so quickly to continue the story and make Friday the 13th Part 2 that by the time Part 2's making money, everybody realizes, oh, the way you make money is you have a killer that's going to come back so that you can keep making sequels. You limit yourself to the morality, like kill the ones who do the bad things. The rules are established by 81. So in 82 and then 83 and 84, you have like this big rush of just all the high point of slashers. And then the market kind of dries up and Freddy Krueger changes everything. To where by the time they get to Prom Night 2, known as Hello Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, which I believe is 85, it's got a lot more Nightmare on Elm Street. 87, excuse me. So it's, it's post Freddy, and it shows. It is nothing not connected to this story at all. But, the Prom Night name from the first one, they were like, well, okay, let's see if we can squeeze more money out of this. It's good. It's fun. It is never going to get a real Blu-ray release, I'm afraid, because there's too much music licensed in it. It's going to be too expensive. But it's also got insane, out of context nudity that you've never seen in a movie. Like it's just, I don't know. It's
They
bizarre.
know their formula.
They know the formula.
They know
Actually,
their-
what's funny is Prom Night 2 and Prom Night 1 both borrow from Carrie heavily. And we haven't gone there yet on the show. We
Yes.
will.
Right.
But
yeah, no, I mean, that was very much in my mind watching this. Was like, this is very Carrie, but
Yes. Another movie where 30-year-olds are in high school.
right.
well, it is funny to think like Friday the 13th Part 7 and Prom Night were both like, what if you made a slasher movie out of Carrie? And the two are so divergent in how they executed that. Like, there's room in the world for both of those.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. We haven't touched on the music of Prom Night yet, and it was good. I'm not gonna lie,
It's great.
They picked some slasher disco classics that I wasn't familiar with, but absolutely. I'm pretty sure one of them was just like saying "kill, kill, kill" over and over again. That might just be my memory. It's been a long day, but
It's like a Taylor Swift song.
yeah, exactly what I thought. I was like, I'm sure Adele's come up with something new, but yeah, the soundtrack in this film did play a little bit of a part.
It did. I liked it.
I was there for it.
Are we going to have a rash of TikTok dance slashers here in the next 5 years?
I hope so.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
As long as he's in it, I'm good.
Oh my goodness. Did you notice that when Wendy is out in the car in the parking lot, that the visual of her being menaced in the car is stolen directly in Halloween 2, which she is in? Only it's Jamie Lee Curtis in the car. Isn't that strange?
Huh.
Halloween 2 is like, hey, let's steal the star and uncredited co-star, and while we're at it, let's just borrow this whole scene and just plug it in.
I think Halloween 2 is probably out of the original 3, which I know it's probably the original 4 is the ones that really count, but out of the first 3 Halloween films, Halloween 2 is the one. I think I've only seen that once. I can barely remember it. It's still got Donald Pleasance in it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
It has Bud, the creepy ambulance guy. It's got a whole heap of deep red that's just been scooped out and served up to us without any kind of credit to Argento.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Which this film had in spades, to be fair. This had a lot of deep red, but it also had 70s orange in abundance, which I loved. The colours in this film were fantastic.
There was a lot of Suspiria in this, and I mean, it makes sense,
Yeah.
right? That money's making hand over fist, so why not throw some Suspiria lighting in to the Carrie scenes when we're copying Halloween? Like, there really isn't a whole lot of this movie that's super original, but it's a strange kind of novel composition because of where it fit in the timeline, and also the balls to be like, oh yeah, we've got an escaped psychopath and he's not involved.
But here's a scene at the disco in orange. I loved it. I loved the use of lighting. It was awesome.
What would have been cool if he was not just a red herring, but they actually made it look like he was the killer, and then the killer kills him. That would have been kind of cool.
Well,
'Cause
see,
then
you would
you
do
would've had
that
that.
in 1986, right? As you're through the first wave, now you have an expectation that he's the killer. So it would be the next twist. Be like, okay, let's one-up it by having him killed by the guy who's the actual killer. It'd be like if Roy and Jason fought it out, and Jason popped up and decapitated Roy, and now we're on to part 6, right? Spoiler alert
Yeah,
for
it's
a lot of movies.
Too meta for 1980. Let's face it. Things were a lot simpler in 1980. We just needed one killer. We didn't need more than one reveal. It was too much.
Now, recently, yesterday, in fact, from when we're recording this, I finally got to see 13 Fanboy. And I'm just going to give you a super mini review because I know we've talked about it at length with Deborah Voorhees. She got me, guys.
Good.
I was impressed. I'd messaged her this morning. I said, lady, you got me.
Okay. All right. Don't say anything else
Yeah,
because
'cause I'm definitely gonna watch it. I just haven't
me
been able
too.
to do it today.
So check that movie out, guys. Everybody who's listening, it's not just like a fan service. It's got a lot of that. You know, I spent half the movie going, oh, it's him. Oh, it's her. That's so cool. But it pays.
In
It
that
pays
voice?
dividends. Oh yeah, my wife was
Yeah, in
getting
that
sick of it quickly. Oh my god! Oh my God.
It's that guy.
It's that guy I like.
It's that guy. Oh my God, it's Kane Hodder.
That's harder, you dingbat.
It is funny to be like, oh, there's the guy that threatened George. Oh, there's the guy that showed us his guitar. Oh, we're just. I feel like we've inserted ourselves into the community enough that now I can be like, hey, it's our guys.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's E.T.'s mom.
I just, because I hadn't heard of it until you mentioned it, so I just quickly Googled 13 Fanboy, and down the bottom of IMDb, there's a little clickbaity link for The Goonies 2, which I immediately clicked on. I was like, surely.
Of course you did.
And of course, there's nothing there.
No.
What's the
Oh.
point in that? That's
But they
just
have
there
your-
to attract me.
They now have your information.
They now know. I went to see The Goonies at the cinema. That's how old I am. So.
Yeah, that's good shit. That's my
Yeah.
childhood. Minus the
Yeah.
pirate ship. That's my childhood.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the film that really hit me, and hopefully George has seen it, is Ghostbusters. As a kid, going to see that in the cinema changed
Yes.
my world.
Yes.
I have seen that. Another friend from college that tried to fix me showed me that.
One of the best jump scares ever in a PG film as well.
Yes,
that
yes.
that is just But yeah,
We might revisit that for an episode just before Afterlife.
the
comes out.
reboot, yeah,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, yeah.
'Cause
Interesting.
I'd like to watch that again.
And you know, with Prom Night, I think more people are discovering it because of the recent remake, and then that one was terrible.
Which
So
a lot
hopefully
of
they
people
go
did
back
not
and
yeah.
hopefully they go back and look at the real one, just like when Black Christmas got remade in the early 2000s. I hope more people went back and saw the original. Oh God, please.
Well, from what I'm learning from the World Wide Web, when they make a remake, they don't give a shit about the nuance of the original. They just want kills. They want violence. They want hotness, maybe some sex, boobs, whatever. But they don't care about what the original story was and why it was important like you do. Like you go back and you say, oh, well, this was important because of A, B, or C.
Yeah.
The new producers are just like, no, it just wasn't gory enough, so we're just going to make it gory.
Yeah, just ramp everything up
Or-
to
Yeah,
stupid
and
levels.
Or counterpoint. What if producers now, at least the competent ones, are saying we have enough Halloween 2, Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Halloween 6, Halloween 7, Halloween 8 being the exact same movie over and over, and instead, what if we play in the universe, tell a different story completely, and add in some social commentary and allegory to please Dan and that one other guy on Twitter that caught on?
No,
I think-
that's fine as long as it's like if it's germane to the original story. Where it's going to be like I'm reading an article right now where they're saying Michael Myers could be homophobic because
Oh,
one
don't
of
read
his
that
kills was-
clickbaity nonsense. Do you know why they
Okay,
published
I
that? Here, Travis, just for real. Do you know
I mean-
why that article got published?
Why?
Because 40% of the audience would go, "Oh my god," and then talk about it on a podcast.
Right.
Don't fall for
But
their traps, bro.
But what's funny is, no, I saw the headline and it made me think. I'm like, actually, he was kind of tolerant because he was accepting of their relationship and he posed
He kills
them as the same
everybody.
picture.
He doesn't care.
And he's non-discriminatory. He kills everybody, but he showed them respect by laying them out like they look like in their picture.
Travis, hot take. COVID, old age, homophobic.
Wait.
It's a stupid
course
take.
it is.
It's a stupid take. That's a stupid article. Don't give them your time. You have been
No,
victimized by these
I'm not
fools.
reading the article. Someone posted it on Monster Mania Facebook page, and I saw it, and I was like, I can't believe they're wasting their time with this kind of crap.
They're not wasting
I
their
wasn't
time.
reading it like
They're
buying
wasting
into
your
it. I'm not buying
time.
into it.
They're wasting your brain space.
you're
you have fallen
wasting your time.
victim, man.
I
Get
just
them out of your
scrolled by it.
brain.
Like I know how the Halloween of today is really playing into that mob mentality, which is great. It's a good idea to see what happens to a town when there's tragedy and they're faced with this shape. You know, what are you going to do? What happens when 1,000 people go after the same target? Yes, I get the mob mentality.
Yeah, where do you fall?
And I don't mind that. I think that's good because I mean, they did that in Frankenstein.
Yes.
So it's like that mob mentality
the
has
classic
existed.
horror film.
Spoiler alert
Yes,
for a
absolutely. It's
70-year-old.
happened in
Science
horror
fiction,
movies
but yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
King Kong was
Yeah.
killed because of mob mentality and misunderstanding. Huh? What'd he say?
Spoiler alert.
Oh, spoiler
Spoiler
alert, right.
alert, yeah.
All right,
The
Kong was
monkey gets
attacked. But so even that movie had commentary. We're talking like 1933.
Right.
You know,
And-
it's coming off the
Fra-
Depression.
Frankenstein's
there.
the ultimate one. You touched on it. Frankenstein was the ultimate. Should we be meddling with things beyond our ability? Horror
Exactly.
story. You know, written probably over a few nights by a very high wife of Percy Shelley. So,
Right.
what a fantastic story! But it has captivated. But why do we enjoy? And this goes back to why I enjoyed today's film. Why did I enjoy Prom Night? Because it was escapism. There was nothing in it that made my brain have to seriously think. There was nothing in it that made me like, oh, am I going to have a massive jump scare in a minute? It was very soft. It was real nostalgia. I felt like there were a lot of great 1980s style looks about it. I was like, I feel like I'm back in the late 70s, early 80s. So that's lovely. That's why we like films. Escapism. We don't watch horror films to be reminded of how
real
horrible our
life.
life is. That's what the news is for. That's what Fox is there for. But we like to have escapism, and they need more of that in horror films, for sure. That's my little horror film rant over.
Agreed.
There are some great horror films at the moment. Sorry, I'm just making light of it, but a lot of them are shite.
There are great horror films that have a commentary. You know, it's fine. Like if a creature is created by, I mean, look at Godzilla. Godzilla's social commentary based on nuclear tests and basically when we drop bombs on other countries, they create Godzilla. They create 60-foot praying mantises or whatever it is that we create.
I did
or they
enjoy
create.
King Kong versus Godzilla, by the way, because again, brain switches off completely. I'm just watching it for the CGI.
Ironically, the brain
wanna
switched off for the script writer
The
as well.
production. Yeah.
Right, but you don't need it because you're gonna just see a fucking stupid giant gorilla attack a giant lizard, and it's gonna be like fireworks. That's all you're watching.
But the acting didn't do it for Travis. He needed acting. He wanted to believe the
But see,
motivation of the robot dinosaur, whatever it is.
That's what it would have been awesome.
When
if
he
that-
did it as
No,
a
no,
stage
had
play,
nothing
it
to
was
do with-
way
no.
better. Stage play Godzilla versus
No.
King Kong was way
No.
better.
No. The issue.
the acting was awful, actually.
No, the issue with King Kong Godzilla is the opposite, Dan. The acting in it is fine. The effects are great.
It's the plot
the
device.
visuals.
Of the
plot sucked,
yeah.
and the fact that they tried to make a plot made me angry. I want to see a gorilla fight a lizard in the middle.
That's
of the city
hypocritical, man.
and
You need to
watch
pick
it.
a
I just
position
wanna
and
watch
stick with it.
But when you start talking about middle of the earth, not really. No, Dan.
But
The script is what ruined it because they got too cute with it. I mean,
But you've just proved why Prom Night's a great film. Because
That's
even
right.
if it's not a great murder mystery slasher film, you get to see 10 minutes of Jamie Lee Curtis doing a routine. Like, it's
Mhm.
literally, it's just a showpiece for the lights, music, and Jamie Lee Curtis dancing. And she really meant those moves. You could tell.
Mhm.
I have a feeling they shot that as like a 20-minute scene, and then they finished the movie and they're like, okay, we're at 76 minutes. All right, give me, 9 minutes of the dance scene and then cut
Her
it.
acting in that scene was on point. So,
She's
I'm
a
there
trained
for this
dancer.
film.
You can tell.
yeah.
I think
Cut
it's
in the
kind of
mashed potato. We can do that. We can have the mashed
Right.
potato. We can do the Superman. Get them all in there now. We've got the time.
I think it's kind of, I don't want to bring up American Werewolf again, but it's kind of like where Landis told Baker, make this creature, I'm going to shoot it for 5 minutes, and we're going to use 30 seconds of it. And then when Landis saw what Rick Baker created, he couldn't film enough of it.
Yeah.
And he couldn't put enough of it in the movie to where, Baker was like, it was only supposed to be a certain amount of time, that transformation scene. But it's a
Yeah.
good, 4 minutes? 3.5
Once
minutes?
It's
So-
great.
Once again, some rubbery bits in it, of course, but practical effects versus CGI, practical
Always.
effects wins once
Yep.
again, because that is just that. And again, it's down to the audio. The cracking of the bones as his hand
Mhm.
stretches. It sticks with you as a kid. That is way better than anything I've seen Hollywood come up with in the last 10 years with infinite CGI, essentially. They can make anything happen now, so they make it all really bland.
Yeah, American Werewolf in Paris will show you that.
I've only seen that film once, and that tells you
Total
everything you need to know.
CGI werewolf, and it's terrible.
Do you think we should tell George what he's watching next week?
I think Richard already did.
Did I?
So
Yeah.
So here's the thing, George. I have a pet peeve as a Halloween aficionado. I hate it when September 1st comes and people are already hinting toward, ooh, it's almost the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
Because, dude, I got to get to Halloween first. And then once we get to Halloween, beginning of November, I'm still in like my Halloween hangover. I'm watching Halloween Resurrection. I'm hating my life. It's great. Then
Trick or treat.
we have the debate. When do we put up the Christmas tree, right? And half of or more of my neighbors, it's like November 1st, boom. It's like full
Wow.
Christmas. And I drag it out. My rule at home is we don't put that thing up until after Thanksgiving.
Right. That's a good rule. I
Now,
like that rule.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
We're going to violate our rule a little bit here, George. You and Travis and I and Richard, anytime he wants to hop aboard, we're going to enjoy ourselves a little early Jamie Lee Christmas.
Mm.
Because we know that you love Jamie Lee Curtis.
I do.
And we also know that it's nearly Christmas.
You could say that, yeah.
So, Travis, what are we watching next?
Next week is a movie that Richard mentioned.
Sorry.
That's okay. I smirked when you said it.
It's clear that we are going the right direction if this is where your mind went watching
Exactly.
this movie.
Right.
We're going to be watching the classic Trading Places.
And we're not going to tell you anything else
Not
about
gonna
it,
tell you anything
except
about
that
it.
it's JLC.
Very good.
One
down.
of my favourite films of all time. Another John Landis film. Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant
for many
film.
reasons that we'll probably talk about next week.
Yeah.
John Landis and Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yes, we're bringing your worlds together, George.
Wow.
The double J.
JLJLC. 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 See, it works.
See, it works.
wrote itself.
That sounds like a scene out of Halloween Kills.
Does the theme go like trading places, trading places, trading places?
Yeah, can you sing the theme, Dan?
I'm going to have to go back and assess the score.
Okay.
Richard, are you aware of our rule? Not our rule. Our observed
You're observed.
musical
Yeah,
score.
Dan observed
Dan's
this.
going to die on this island. alone.
Dan
the
observed
Dan
this.
observed.
Certain things
you
apply to
noticed-
just one of us. This is one of those things. Go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead, Dan. Your show.
Certain genre movie scores are as simple as the guy writing them pounded out the name of the movie on a piano and said, "Done. There it is."
No, you got to
We
sing
go
a few.
into it at length in The Thing episode,
Yes.
but just for a quick sampler, the movie The Thing, Halloween, 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 Jaws,
ridiculous.
That's
Jaws.
tenuous, dude. Halloween is tenuous, man.
Superman,
Jaws.
Superman,
Superman.
Batman,
He did them all.
Or I dare say, the Remedial Film Class Podcast.
Hey,
My
I
favorite
love
one-
your
That's how I
theme
wrote it.
music, by
Yeah.
the way. Your
I
theme music
John
is awesome.
Carpentered. Oh, thank you.
My favorite
Have
one
you heard
is the
the
Superman
Halloween variant yet?
I haven't.
Richard, have
no,
you-
I would have to check it
The
out.
the Halloween, the Fall Break 21 episodes all have a Halloween-inspired variant
one. Yes.
of the same theme.
I love
It's-
that so
and
much.
It's like
If
playing
I have time
Halloween
to make a
backwards or
Christmas
upside down.
one, I'm going to try to do that.
Oh, you got to do like sleigh bells in
Just
there.
sleigh bells. That's all you need to do. I was saying this to Brian. I was like,
Yeah.
Brian, we need to change the music up to make this a Christmas episode of the podcast. He's like, I don't know what to do. I was like, just fucking add some sleigh bells to the whole track. That's it. Instant Christmas music. You're done. Nothing
I like-
else
Well,
required.
if I cop out and do sleigh bells, I will not credit you guys, but everybody will know why I did it.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, we got to thank you, Richard. Thank you so much for joining us on
Oh,
the
thanks for
Remedial
having me.
Film
Very
Class
kind.
podcast. You're welcome here anytime. It was a lot of fun having you, man.
You're now
I-
a friend of the show.
Oh,
Friend
that's
of the
so
show.
kind of you.
Yeah.
I have to say, I've really enjoyed myself. I'm actually in awe of you all for your knowledge. Well, other than you, George, but I'm in awe of you for other reasons.
Well, hey,
Because, like I say, over here, I was the weird kid who liked American horror films in England in like the 80s. We didn't get Fangoria. If I got an issue of Fangoria, I got it like handed down by, the brother of a friend of a
Right.
person who worked in a film. So just talking geeky stuff with you guys has been awesome fun. And yeah, I'd absolutely love to join you again on something cool. If your audience doesn't all turn up when they hear my stupid English voice.
I'm going to make you jealous. I still have about all of my issues of Fangoria magazine. I still have them.
I mean, if we're going into the jealousy thing, I've kissed Princess Leia, so
Ah. Yeah.
the year she died though. So
Damn. Yeah, you got me on that one.
dudes, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much.
yes,
Thank
thanks for
you.
coming on.
Thank you for joining us.
Send my love to Brian and Blake.
I definitely will.
Yeah, tell the dudes we say hey.
I definitely will. No, we spoke about this off air. I said I was coming to, and Brian is full of love for not so much you, Travis, because he doesn't know you, but
That's
he's
fine.
clearly full of love for all of you dudes. He was very, very happy to hear about it. So we totally love the fact that you've gone on to do this podcast as well. I think it's absolutely superb, and I think it's going to get stronger and stronger.
Yeah, and this
And we
podcast
never would have
wouldn't exist.
met.
Yeah,
Yeah, I met George because of the Wampler group, and I found the Wampler group because of the podcast,
Right.
Chasing Tone.
So a nice bit of serendipity to have me on for an episode, even though I've only been on. Actually, I say I've only been on Chasing Tone for a minute. It's been a year now, which is really quite scary because that's just flown by. But I'm very new to the Wampler scene overall, even though I now do lots of stuff for them. But yeah, no, very awesome, very nice bit of serendipity.
Well, thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class podcast. As always, you can find us at Twitter and Instagram at Remedial Film Pod. You can find us at Facebook.com/Remedial Film Pod. If you're listening to this on YouTube, we're also on all your favorite podcast services like Apple and Spotify. And if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify or Podcast Addict or Stitcher or Amazon, you can also find us on YouTube. We'll be back next week with Trading Places and Jamie Lee Christmas.